Work is progressing on Qatar's World Cup venues, but Amnesty International says improvements to migrant worker rights are not progressing fast enough. Amnesty, in its fifth report on the country, details abusive conditions for people on projects for the 2022 Football World Cup. Amnesty interviewed 132 migrant construction workers rebuilding the Khalifa Stadium, due to be the first World Cup venue to open.
The very common ones are delayed pay or non-payment of wages for very long periods. You know, we've seen some workers going for many months without being paid, having worked extremely long hours in sometimes very harsh conditions.
Withholding pay is against Qatari labour law, and an amendment in November 2015 requires that businesses pay workers on time and by direct bank deposits. You might wonder why workers don't just leave then, but it's not that simple.
You can't work in Qatar if you don't have a sponsor. And the sponsor effectively has complete control. You cannot change your job without the sponsor's approval. You can't leave the country without the sponsor's approval.
One man asked his manager if he could leave and was told to keep working or he would never be able to leave, and his salary would be further delayed. That's forced labour as defined by the International Labour Organization. Sponsorship laws are being updated in Qatar. Workers will be allowed to appeal when a sponsor refuses to give them a go-ahead for an exit visa. The head of the Supreme Committee, which oversees all the World Cup projects, says they are making progress in penalising companies which break the law.
We've always said that we will face setbacks in applying our standards and that it's a journey. It's not going to be an immediate solution. Nevertheless, our standards did succeed because in 2015, out of our own accord and through our applying our standards, we have been able to capture many of these abuses and resolve them.
But the lead author of a 2014 report commissioned by the Qatari government into migrant labour and human rights says laws need to be better enforced.
I think it's not just a case of passing new legislation. There is a lot of legislation already enforcing Qatar, and it's a question of also stepping up in enforcement.
Hundreds of thousands of workers like these are on construction sites in Qatar. 36,000 are expected to be on World Cup projects in the next 2 years. But human rights groups say more needs to be done to protect their rights, to make sure they can make a fair living without the threat of abuse. Caroline Malone, Al Jazeera, Doha.